In a rare show of bipartisanship, House Republicans, with the help of 14 Democrats, have passed a resolution now condemning the handling of the U.S. border security, or lack thereof, by the Biden administration. Since the beginning of fiscal 2024, which began in October, Border Patrol has already apprehended 673,000 illegals. And Speaker Mike Johnson has called the disaster of the president's own design. The three-part resolution denounces President Biden's open border policies, condemns the national security and public safety crisis that the White House and other officials have created, and urges the president to end his administration's open border policies. Will this be the issue that sinks President Biden as he runs relatively uncontested in his own party? Maybe. Joining me, New York's 24th District Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, thank you for being here.
Great to be on.
This resolution it's bipartisan, but we're seeing it. We're seeing pushback in New York. We're seeing pushback in Chicago. We're seeing pushback in Whitewater, Wisconsin, a small town invaded by 1,000 illegals with a population of only 15,000. It is impacting the entire country. People have finally said enough, even Democrats, right?
Yes, I think, well, it's sad that there's only 14 on that resolution, but they're starting to come around to realize that this is the major crisis of the day. Look, there is nothing more important for the federal government, particularly the job of the executive branch, than to protect our national security and our border security. And by allowing 300,000 people in just the month of December, that's an entire city. That's, larger than the city of Cincinnati, for example, which is a major city in the country, coming in 1 month. I know the Biden administration is weak on this. I hear about it from Democrats. And as a New Yorker, when I go to New York City and I hear New York City Democrats, and I'm not talking Mayor Adams, I'm talking liberal New York City Democrats talking about how are we going to deport these people, that is when you know you've hit pay dirt with the Democrats. They know this is dangerous. And I represent New York State, which is a huge part of the northern border. 85% of the people on the terror watch list came across the border from the northern border, not the southern border. And why? The cartels, who control everything, have taken advantage of that northern border because so many of those customs and border agents have been displaced to combat what's coming across the southern border. And we've left ourselves vulnerable. It's very easy to get into New York using the cartels. New York State, Kathy Hochul, our governor, passed a bill along with Governor Cuomo that gives illegal immigrants driver's license, valid New York driver's license, and the police have no way to verify or check or even ask because they're given a special status under the so-called green light law. That makes us vulnerable.
Let me ask you about something I was told just earlier today with Todd Bensman from the Center of Immigration Study. He says you're going to hear shortly that the number of illegals coming across the southern border has dropped dramatically in the last few weeks. And the Biden administration has done a deal with the president of Mexico. And when Joe Biden went down there on the 22nd of December, Blinken followed up a few days later. You're going to find out that Mexico has bulldozed some migrant camps and shipped a whole bunch of migrants back, illegals back to the southern part of Mexico near Guatemala. And they're going to do this through the campaign through 2024 in an effort to impact the outcome in November. Is this something you've heard, Congresswoman? Because it sounds like a kind of game that the Biden administration would play. What say you?
I have not heard this, but it sounds like it'd be a great way for them to make people think. And if they put enough money behind it, people will believe, oh, look, they're actually doing something about the southern border, impacting a minuscule amount, and not to mention the numbers that are already here. We have almost 8 million people in this country right now who we do not know who they are, what their criminal background is, what their intent is. And by the way, 70% of these people that have come in are males of eligibility for work. They're 18 to 24. It's not families with children. These are trafficked individuals who probably have many of them probably have ill intent with this country, especially when you see where they're coming from and the fact that they're from Middle Eastern countries that are not our friends, and many of them are from China as well.
This is a national security issue, is an existential threat to America. 10 million, I think, is the number that actually has come in so far. And by the way, 10. Congresswoman, 10 million people makes that a larger population than 40 states. That's right, that we know of. That's larger than the populations of 40 states. That's Montana 10 times over. It is a dangerous situation. And if the Biden administration plays games with it, we can't allow that either. So let's keep an eye on that. I'll give you the last word.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think our speaker put it best. I had dinner with him last night. He had, gave us a recap of what happened with the Biden administration. He called it a catastrophe, and the Biden administration knows it's a catastrophe. But because, like everything else they deal with, they're paralyzed of a solution to try to have. Instead of just enforcing the laws we have or reversing the over 60 laws that the Biden administration put in place between his administration and his executive orders that created this mess. That's all they have to do. We don't even have to pass another bill or spend another dollar. If they would reverse what they have done that has been so dangerous in creating this situation, we would start to bring order back. But I think we have to get rid of this administration. We need to elect a president. We need to elect someone like President Trump, who stood strong on this, who will stand in the breach no matter what they do to him and stand strong on this issue.
Right.
And that's why you're seeing him rising in the polls.
And I think millions of people in this country agree with that sentiment. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, always thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right. After the break, banks now granting fewer credit line increases, reducing credit lines as more and more Americans are falling behind on their credit card payments and everything else. Wealth advisor Joe Rambo will be joining me next on America's Voice Live to look at this. Don't go anywhere.